The kingdom men should be the heroes of the house. The first to say, ain't no evil in my house. See, as for me and mine, we gon' serve the Lord. That's right. Hey, as for me and mine, we trust in His word. Faithful to our wives, and grateful for our lives.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Underground Railroad. Today it's just Sam, Abe, and Brother Ryan, and we're going to pick right up where we left off after talking about defining what the role of the father is and his responsibilities, effects of that role being unfulfilled, and what is the effects of it being fulfilled. So either way.
Yeah. I'll go both directions because I have experienced both things. So my dad was not around. He was a every other weekend kind of thing. We went to go stay with him, but and that was until I was about 12, and then he moved to Colorado. So I mean, I could never really depend on him or turn to him for anything. It was more just kind of like a perfunctory seeing him, and so I mean I gleaned some things from him, but in my own life there was a lot of I mean, I guess combined with this, I'm raised by a single mom. My mom worked all the time. She'd work late hours. Me and my sister would be home alone for a long time, or I mean, things would just happen. And I mean, I remember this one time that everything froze and the electricity went out, and they sent us all home from school. My mom wasn't coming home for like 6, 7 hours, and my sister and I literally we burned magazines in the fireplace and roasted hot dogs over it because it's like, well, we were young, we didn't know what to do. Um, I mean, it was kind of there is kind of this sense of anxiety or fear, or there's something that comes with not having that sense of protection or that sense of, I mean, I don't know, just you just feel exposed. And as a kid, it was more like you were sitting here cooking hot dogs over the fire. Like, what is this? Why don't I have someone I can rely on? But as an adult, it's more like getting into relationships, um, or having kids, or I mean, all these major things you do in life. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I didn't ever see a man do it, so I don't know what I'm doing a lot of time. I'm very grateful that I have an older brother who's about 9 years older than I am. So he's done a lot of things a bit ahead of me. So I at least can talk to him, but I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. And it's a real sense of anxiety about that, real like deep fears, and mental health issues and all kinds of stuff that have sort of stemmed from that for me. So there's that sense of just being unprotected, uncovered, un yeah. I don't know how else to say it, but it's a it's a real it's this deep thing that just comes out in all sorts of different ways in your life. You know, you don't expect it maybe. Um, on the other side, I've tried to be there and maybe in excess for my own kids. My wife and I always say that our kids will be screwed up. We're sure of it, but they won't be screwed up in the exact way that we were screwed up. That's however they're screwed up. It'll be a different kind of screwed
Yeah.
up than what we
Ain't
are.
that the truth? Yeah.
Yeah, we've worked really hard not to. I'm sure they're going to have their own issues and they'll have their own things, but we do joke sometimes. Like we'll do something and they'll get mad at us. Like, well, that's something for the therapist to talk about later in life. That's fine. Um, but my kids are definitely um, they definitely know that I'm here. They definitely know I love them and care for them, and they definitely know they can depend on me, and I'm always around. And I never let them feel like they're unprotected or unloved or anything like that. Like I'm just maybe overly affectionate and overly communicative of some of those things, to their annoyance sometimes. But um, yeah, so I guess on the positive side of it is just um, how I've seen them be different from me. I mean, even just in this confidence, my older son is a very, very confident kid. He's very, I mean, just a great kid. And then my younger son also is not confident in the same way, but confident in his own mind and in his own feelings. Like he can articulate how he's feeling. He can talk about what he's thinking. I mean, he's confident enough in his own person to be able to express that. Even if it's really negative or it's really frustrated or whatever it is. I could never, like, I still can't do that. I can't articulate my thoughts and feelings nearly as well as my 12-year-old can, like at all. So, and it's just, but I think that they don't have that fear. You know what I mean? That I have.
Yeah. So the greatest effect towards you is of not having a father there was it created fear in your heart and just a lack of feeling protected and just vulnerable. And now
Yeah.
you're fulfilling that role in your kid's life, and they're confident and they know they're loved. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's a pretty profound difference between the two, and what you're providing and what was neglected to you. It sucks that you ended up falling on the sword, but I suppose you'd do it 1,000 times for your kids.
Oh
You
yeah.
know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And,
And I mean
so
that's
what,
parenting, right? Parenting is being the butthead for the greater good. Sometimes. I mean, just,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if I could jump in
So
just real quick, like if you don't mind, Sam, because I was like hearing you
yeah,
speaking like when like your father wasn't around and didn't really have like a father figure, but then you said there's some things you learned from your older brother, and
yeah.
as you speaking into this, um, I get thinking about the children that we see around today, or even
Yeah.
my grandchildren for my grandchildren, right? Because they don't have their father around,
Right.
but they do stay with me now. And sometimes, um, sometimes I forget, like what you just speaking on. You know, what I'm saying just that involvement, someone that connection, to be involved and not having that father figure around, the ramification that comes behind that, especially when they grow up. And and I can see put it like this, it opens me up even more because things that
Yeah.
I know these things already, but as you speaking this into us today, I'm thinking about my little ones I have in my household today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And really put emphasis that I need to be more intentional
Yeah.
with them. You know, so I thank you for that.
Yeah. And I actually had two cousins that their dad was in jail for. So my uncle, he was in jail for their whole life, and they were both raised by my grandparents. And it's real interesting. One of them is hardworking, stable, family man. He's got great kids. He's built a life. And the other one has been in and out of jail, in and out of addiction. I mean, just he's had a really rough life. Um, I didn't. I don't know that they necessarily um, were raised differently. The one that had the harder time was the older one. Maybe he bore more of the brunt of it or whatever. It was interesting just to see how differently their two lives went in those same circumstances. Um, and I guess it spoke to me more of how it's possible for someone to still feel that love and protection and care and feel confident and um, build a life for themselves, even when terrible things are happening. in their immediate
Right.
family, you know, and
Right.
fathers are gone, and his mom was an addict, and she was gone, and all this stuff. So
And so, what do you think is the greatest pitfalls for being a father, and how would you suggest to avoid them? What are the greatest pitfalls for you as a dad?
yeah, I mean, I think um, so many pitfalls. The problem with being a father is that it's not necessarily a pitfall so much as it is like ledges on either side. You know, you can be too soft with them, or you can be too stern, or um, you can be too present in their lives. Like you can smother them and helicopter them
Hmm.
and not let them be themselves, or you can be totally absent. And I think for me, the pitfall, I guess, is not reacting to what you feel you've done wrong in a moment by doing the opposite or something.
Hmm.
Um, you because you'll tend to overcorrect and you just end up swinging back and forth between stupid things, which you do. I mean, I do anyway. But um, I guess I'm not trying to get a feeling from them. And I think that's probably for me like a big thing is like I'm not getting my emotional needs or my like I'm not looking for something from them in terms of that. So like I don't need them to be happy with me in order for me to be all right, you know. Or so I think when we do need that, when we need them to be our friend, or when we need them to be our emotional support or whatever, and they can be that. Like my kids are great, but if I need them to be that for me, then I'm going to treat them differently.
Right.
I'm going to make sure they're not upset. Or if they do something dumb and they make me upset, I'm going to, you know, pout and go off and, you know, be. I mean, and it sounds stupid, but so many parents do it, and so many parents
Yeah.
they throw the same stupid fits that their 4 year olds throw. It just looks different.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so I think for me, it's like trying to remember what I'm about and trying to remember who I am, who they are. We love each other. We're in this very close relationship. We're around each other all the time. But I don't find like, I'm friends with them, but I don't find my needs for companionship met in them necessarily. You know,
Right.
like
Right.
I'm giving them something and I am receiving something, but it's far more. Um, I'm far more secure in myself and in the relationships that I have. Whereas I know that they, just from experience, I know that they do need something from me. At least for now. Hopefully they won't when they get older, and then we'll be more of a sort of collegial. It'll be a more I don't know, peer. I'll always be their father, but I mean we'll both be adults and things. Um, but for now, like they need something from me, and so I need to be able to do that for them without getting all in my feelings and getting all upset or trying to keep them happy and not upset them or whatever it is. I need to like I need to know what I'm about.
And so I think we live in a day and age today that where the empowerment of our children, I would call it, right? And so and we live in a day and age that we tend to appease them, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And like you said, and they can throw a fit and then kind of like, okay, I'm gonna let them have that, and I'm gonna go this way, and that seems to for me, I think like the biggest pitfall. I'm talking strictly with my grandchildren now,
Yeah.
and these are things I see every day, right? Like I got a little one, they'll throw a fit, not ain't going north, right? Hey, would you just be quiet? And then, well, okay, I'm gonna give you this, and hopefully that just do that, right? In turn, it creates a habit,
Yeah.
and that habit turns into something that they continue to do every single day. So it becomes a life in a sense. So the biggest pitfall that I see, especially in my household, or just in children in general, is that we live in an day and age that they have been empowered because they know about, well, if you whoop me, if you do this or you say something too harsh, that I can call somebody, and something can be done. And
Yeah.
so with that mindset, I think that kind of weakens um, the the I don't know what's the word I want to use, the parenting, I guess you say,
Yeah. The authority.
authority,
Yeah.
and so when I see like the biggest pitfall, because like like you said, there's sometimes I love how you said it. You know what I'm saying? I don't need like them to be happy to make me, what I'm saying? Like that's what we need, because nowadays we want them to be happy to in order to make the things go right. You know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to
Yeah.
correction and stuff like that. Um, so yes, that's one of the biggest pitfalls that I've noticed, that I see, that really big, not only in my grandchildren's, that lives here with me, but also a lot of my nieces and nephews, that they have a sense of empowerment to where you can't touch me.
Yeah.
And so how do you go about parenting that when they
Yeah.
have like this sense of empowerment? So it's like,
Yeah. And I think it's not a genuine sense of empowerment. I think that's the problem. I think real empowerment is what we're after, right? Like I want to empower my kids to be functional adults, um, but um, maybe entitlement or like invincibility or something,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
I got you.
or like being able to hold something over you, you know. Yeah, and I think um, the difficulty that a lot of people have, it's that, or it's the opposite. Like it's either you try to appease them and you try to keep this peaceful relationship with them, um, to the detriment of them ever growing up. So you're not actually empowering.
Right, right.
You're actually robbing them of
Okay, yeah, that's a
the
good
ability
word.
to grow up. You know what I mean? Like the ability to be responsible, the ability to understand authority and consequences and all those things. And I think the opposite is true too. Like you can be iron fisted. You can be, you can lord it over your kids. I mean, just at a very simple level, parents are just usually bigger and stronger than their kids, to a certain point, you know. Um, and also, you're stunting them at that point. You're not doing anything for them. You're just keeping the calm, or keeping a certain status quo in your house, or in public, or whatever it is you're trying to maintain. You're trying to maintain something though. And real parenting, just like real discipleship and like real salvation and like all these things, is not about maintaining something. Um,
Right, yeah,
you got to be going somewhere.
yeah,
It's not just
yeah,
about like getting things back to an equilibrium.
right,
Um, we it's the same thing that we do in discipleship. I mean, we we want God to forgive us. We want to be Jonah, right? We want God to forgive us all our sins and let us out. But then when it comes to other people, we're like, nah, I don't know about that.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
we want to be harsh and judgmental or whatever. Um, yeah, I think that genuine empowerment, though, for the kids it really requires a parent who is forward looking and not just trying to get by today. You know, I think that's what I always saw with my mom. That was so hard. She was literally just trying to make it to tomorrow most of the time. And she would react to things and she would talk to us and whatever, but it was not, we weren't going anywhere. I mean, she wasn't taking us anywhere. She was just ushering us, or like, just making sure we were fed and clothed. Or, and she had it hard. She was really had to work really hard, long hours for not a lot of money, and had to take care of us. And but I think that sense of just getting by for today, or that's good enough for today, or just even just trying to keep the peace is so detrimental, because you end up just living there forever. Like you don't ever get out of it.
I'm with you.
And then before you know it, your kids are gone out of the house. And
Right.
You're like, what the heck?
So, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
We have two minutes left, maybe about 4 minutes left. And so I want to know, what is something that you want your boys to know without a shadow of a doubt, that you want instilled with them for the rest of their lives, that can carry on?
Yeah. I think there are so many things that I want them to know, but I want them to know their worth and their dignity. I just want them to understand how not special, but how worthwhile they are. Just as people. Like I want them to understand that for themselves, but also for everyone they meet. Like I always tell anybody that'll listen, but I tell my kids, you've never met a person, and you never will, that God doesn't love. There's not a person in the world that God looks at like, nope, not that one. Like we're all endowed with this human dignity, and regardless, I mean, look, my kids, if I don't want them to, but if they go off and do dumb stuff, or they go off and disagree with everything I've told them or whatever, I want them to understand their in being imbued with the image of God, and being ennobled in some sense with purpose, with dignity, is I don't know, it's everything. I don't think you can understand what it means to be to be kind or to love someone. I don't think you can understand what it means to do justice in the world. And frankly, I don't think you can understand fully why Jesus became one of us if you don't understand that. Right? If you don't get human dignity, you don't get what God means by we are created in His image and His likeness, then everything else is going to be kind of a temporary, I get it, sort of, or I'll do it to virtue signal, or I'll do something to get a social media post out of it, or I'll do something to go along. But like, if you are deeply convinced of human dignity, of your own worth and the worth of every person, then I think everything else makes a lot more sense.
That's a real good word. That's a real good word, man. So I thoroughly enjoy your presence, your knowledge, your words, your insights, your wisdom. Um, like I said, since day one, man, you have me sold day one, right? And that still rings true today. Like, thank you for opening up with Sam and I today, just sharing just your personal side, especially not growing up with our father, and how that impacted you growing up, and how it spills over to raising your own boys. And so we truly grateful for that. Um, uh, you got something you want to say, Sam?
Yeah, honestly, Ryan, I loved having you here, and I hope you come. I hope you come back for like the other ones with about Father God and like the more like scholarly stuff. And
Yeah.
honestly, I always had you pegged like is coming from just like some really high-end home, and everything was just kind of perfect. Just honestly, just like I met you that 7 years ago, and man, you're clean cut, well spoken, sharp as a tack, one of the smartest person I've ever met in my life. Hey, thanks for coming and joining us and defining what a father is. And we appreciate all the guys that came with us and spoke on the topic. And so this next topic for the next week, we're going to be talking about what are the effects of that role being unfulfilled, or when that fatherly role is completely fulfilled. And we appreciate you joining Sam and Abraham on the Underground Railroad, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.